If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains from Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Hello, we're back again, and we're here with Tim. You travel with the wall here.
Yes, absolutely. So I get to be one of the staff members who travels with the Wall That Heals. As we go around the nation, we have 2 to 3 staff members out each week to help teach the volunteers, educate the visitors, and work with everyone as they experience the Wall That Heals on the road.
Wow. Now, there are a few questions I do have about the wall.
Okay.
How big is it?
So the Wall That Heals is a 3/4 scale replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. So it's 7.5 feet tall at the apex, the center point, tapers down to basically 2 inches at the ends, and it is 375 feet from end to end. So it's an exact 3/4 scale replica.
And how many names are on there?
58,281 names.
Wow. Way too many.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you also have this trailer here. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Yes, ma'am. So the Wall That Heals travels in a 51-foot trailer. It's a full-size trailer. And this trailer not only hauls the Wall That Heals, but it opens up and turns into what is the Mobile Education Center. The Mobile Education Center allows us to teach visitors about the war, to show photographs of the hometown heroes and those from the area that we're displaying, and then also show photographs from the In Memory program, or those veterans who came back and later die of illnesses and injuries related to their service. And then, because we're the organization that built the wall in Washington, D.C., we have a unique opportunity to have access to some of the 400,000 items that have been left behind. Wow. So we're able to tell the history of the memorial and tell a little bit about the story of those on the memorial through the items that have been left behind in their honor at the memorial. So people get to see those. If you go to Washington, D.C., you get to visit the wall there, you don't get to see those items. Exactly. It's truly a unique experience to be able to come out and see it while it's out on the road like this.
Almost definitely. I know we are very privileged to have this out here. From my understanding, you probably won't be making it out here again.
Oh, you can never say never.
I'm not going to say never.
I think that, the fact that we were in Winstead 2 years ago and come back this close is testament to your local community and the effort they put forth in hosting this. Last year we were in Monticello, which isn't that far away.
No, it's
so not. Minnesota has always been a very patriotic state. They've been a very generous and gracious host for us. They come out in significant numbers. They participate with the tours a lot, and so it's a great state for us to come to. But it takes a lot to put on, not only financially from the sponsors, but also from the hundreds and thousands of hours that need to be put in by the volunteers.
Exactly.
And so we really can't get back into a community for 4 to 5 years, or usually within about a half an hour or so, within the next year or two, just to kind of get a different, fresh start.
Now, I know we were here to watch the last panel go up yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
How long does it take to set that wall up?
So we tell our hosts that they should plan on it being 6 to 8 hours. Yesterday was really fast. The benefit of having 70 able-bodied, eager folks is the setup went very quickly.
Nice.
I think that we were all in all done with a little bit over 4.5 hours before we had our lunch break. And then we had about an hour after that, which is a really incredible turnaround time. So a lot to be proud of here in this area.
Oh, definitely. We have a very good community here.
Yes, absolutely.
And we love our vets.
There you go.
Is there anything else that you can tell me about the wall or where you're planning to go after this?
So this is one of 29 stops that we had. Last week we were in Indiana. Next week we'll be set up in Butte, Montana. So every single weekend from March until November, we're in a new community and have an incredible opportunity to continue that healing nature. I hope that your viewers, if they got a chance to come down and see it, even if they've seen this wall, we've changed some things since we were here in Winstead. We've changed some things since we were in Monticello last year. To come on down for a tour. And to make certain that we continue to live out that legacy and gift that the Vietnam veterans gave us is to respect service and sacrifice, to understand that we may not agree with the reason why we're in the war, we may be angry at a politician who got us there, but the men and women who are willing to raise their hands and put on a uniform and serve and sacrifice our nation give us the rights and freedoms that we exercise daily. And we owe them an eternal gratitude for that.
Exactly. It doesn't matter the politics.
Yes, ma'am.
And it doesn't matter the rank.
Yes, ma'am.
We all served at one point.
There it is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, for the handicap, you do have golf carts down here to help them get to the wall.
Yes, absolutely. So we have golf carts, they can bring their wheelchairs, we can get the wheelchairs up there and everything else. So there is the ability for handicapped folks. We've got some handicap parking right close to the trailer. That makes it easier, and then of course with the golf carts we can get them real close to the wall as well.
Great.
Yep.
Is there anything that you would like to say to our viewers?
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for supporting us, getting the word out, and making sure that people know about this and come down and experience it.
And speaking of supporting, you do have donation boxes here.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any place that people can donate online or?
Yep. So the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, our organization, was founded as a nonprofit to build the memorial. We still exist today as a nonprofit. We're not part of the government or anything else. And about over a third of the costs associated with bringing the wall come through those donation boxes. If you're unable to make that or you didn't bring cash down, you can always go to our website, thewallthatheals.org, and you can go and make a donation there and help make sure that we pay it forward and continue to bring this around the country.
Fantastic. It's definitely a sight to see, and I would suggest that everybody does get out here to see it.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
We'll show whatever we can on our show, but there's nothing like being here.
Yes, absolutely. I think, one of the things that I encourage everybody to do is to make certain that they come down and see this at night. Because of these modern lights on here, this is absolutely iconic to see at night. It's beautiful to see. Every night at 9 o'clock we're doing taps, and that bugler goes down to the apex and plays taps, and it's not only incredibly moving, but it's equally as beautiful with it being as dark out here. So ask for a curfew extension, come on down a little bit later and see that at night, and you'll be blown away by the beauty. We are the organization that built the wall in Washington, D.C., and this memorial at night is more beautiful than that wall just because of those modern lights. So come see that.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you.
What I'm going to read here is from a book that came out 2 years ago when the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall opened in Washington, D.C. on Veterans Day of 1982. So this book contains stories. It's put out by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the VVMF. And I'm just going to read one story here. I'm not going to read the whole book. It's a little book with a bunch of little stories in it. It's called The Faces and Stories Behind the Names. How does one begin to appreciate the sacrifice of the men and women of the Vietnam era? All who served are honored every day by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. Here the service members who gave their lives have their names etched on the black granite panels. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the VVMF, are the founders and keepers of the wall. In the years since the dedication of the wall in 1982, the organization has gone well beyond the wall to make sure they all matter. There is now the Wall It Heals here today. The Wall of Faces, that's a photo and story project, and the In Memory program, and the registry for Vietnam veterans, and any number of educational programs available to the public. It is a wall of faces where the photos, stories, and remembrances of all 58,281 service members are united by their names on the wall. The photos are service photos, as well as photos from their high school era and even earlier in their mostly brief lives. These pictures sometimes tell a story better than a writing. They sometimes beg one to learn more. Through the stories written as remembrances, we come to know that these men and women didn't live much of a different life than any of the rest of us. Without the Wall of Faces, how would we know that Kerry Gossman begged his parents, like so many did, to join the Army at the age of 17? He needed their written permission. John Shell came to America with the U.S. Army. He was an Englander from Liverpool and belonged to the rock band The Hideaways. The band played at the Cavern Club more times than the early Beatles. Without the Wall of Faces, we would never know Sharon Lane's path to Vietnam, her graduation from South Canton High School in Ohio, her career in nurses training, and nearly 8 years in nursing, including a year in Vietnam before she was killed in 1969 when the evacuation hospital she was working in was bombed. We might not ever know that David Kern was homeless for most of his life. If you left your car unlocked on North Rice Street in the winter, you had a chance of finding David Kern sleeping in your back seat. David was taken in by a family, turned his life around, joined the Army, was killed in action in Vietnam in 1966. Danny O'Loughlin, he played hockey for the Eveleth Bears in northern Minnesota. In one game, he scored 4 goals, 3 of them in 39 seconds. On the wall of faces, Roger McAllister of New Hampshire is pictured by Pulitzer Prize winner and German photojournalist Horst Fass. It was a day when Roger nearly died of heat exhaustion, only to die in an ambush a month later. Eugene Johnson never graduated from high school. He couldn't have. Following junior high, Eugene worked at the South St. Paul car wash before joining the U.S. Marines. We would never know what a great young man Henry Hill was. He graduated from high school in Anoka. He excelled in multiple sports, but track is where he became one of the finest at Mankato State University. We would never know what he meant to his family and classmates and anyone who knew him. Minnesotan Richard Mishuk went missing in 1966, with two other Marines, Michael Burke and Leonard Lewandowski, both from Illinois. 3 Marines went swimming, and they never returned. And I mean, they never came back. Without the wall of faces, we would never see Richard's chronology of life in his photo section. His parents kept a book after he went missing and titled it U.S. Marine. The book was shared with the VVMF by the Mishuk family. 100 photos could have been used. Richard is still MIA. Keith Christopherson and Richard Weir were the last 2 Minnesotans to die in Vietnam. 45 years later, Keith's sister wrote a letter on Keith's Wall of Faces page. At the end, she said, "Thanks for inviting me to walk down memory lane and spend some time with my big brother after so many years, and to share a bit of his story to go with the names on the Vietnam Memorial." A story and a name. It's so simple. Without the wall of faces, they are faceless, and without the wall, they are nameless. Every person named on the wall has a family, a friend, and a story. Most of those that were killed were younger, but they sure crammed a lot into their short lives. William Crockett has a sister. Ronald Krebsbach has a daughter, and they missed each other by 3 weeks. Thomas Scally has a niece that he once held one time when she was an infant. All 3 of these women have but one wish for their loved ones to be remembered, and that is for us to make sure, and it's the least we can do. Okay, there are 58,281 names on the wall. 8 of them were lady nurses, and none of them were from Minnesota. 1,122 Minnesotans died in Vietnam. 10 are from your county of McLeod, and 4 are from the town of Hutchinson. There are 1,549 missing in actions this morning from our country. 33 of the MIAs are from Minnesota. And Lyle McAdams of Hutchinson is the only MIA from your county, but he's one of the 33 from Minnesota. He's been missing since 1968. That's 56 years. The mostly young men on the wall from your county are Warren Robinson of Brownton, Kenneth Goodman of Stewart, Douglas Luke and William Lilienthal, both from Glencoe, Joseph Seller and Stephen Brose, both from Winstead, Donald Mackey, Lyle McAdams, Thomas Healy, and Willard Dufresne are the 4 from Hutchinson. I have one more short reading here. It's from a book called The Twins Platoon, and it goes back, the book goes back 18 years. It's a story of 150 young men who were treated to a Twins game in 1967. They were brought onto the field before the game. They were sworn in. They didn't even let them watch the rest of the game. By the 4th inning, they were headed on an airplane to U.S. Marine Boot Camp in San Diego. It was written by Twins platooner Chris Sorrow. This book is personal to many of us. Mark Mulvihill might have gone to St. Paul Humboldt High School, but he married a South St. Paul classmate of mine. Debbie Strand was her name. Larry Jones's wife, Marjorie, died last year. Marjorie, to me, was Margie Bachman. She grew up at the end of MacArthur Street from where I grew up and babysat us. She was 3 or 4 years older than me, and I needed a babysitter. Okay. Kenneth Goodman of Stewart is mentioned, and so was Larry Buskey, who a lot of you know. Here is part of that chapter, and the part about Larry occupies most of the first chapter of this book. I'm just going to read a little part of it, but it's going to get personal for you too. This is a telephone conversation. "Hello," Busky said nonchalantly into the receiver. He could barely recognize Barb's voice on the other end. She had dated his high school friend, Tom Healy, who had joined the Marines a year earlier. She was crying into the receiver. Larry says, "What's the matter?" "What the hell is the matter?" She stopped crying long enough to get a one sentence out. "Tom was killed in Vietnam yesterday." Busky was not prepared for such shocking news. The next day was in the local newspaper, as was the shocking news that another former classmate had been killed in Vietnam. Here's the article. PFC Thomas Healy is third area victim of Vietnam War. The Vietnam War has claimed the life of a Hutchinson area serviceman. Within a 2-week period, PFC Thomas Healy of Hutchinson died June 7 of multiple fragmentation wounds to the head from a hand grenade while on patrol during an operation in the vicinity of Khe Sanh. The 19-year-old Marine had been in Vietnam since December 22, 1966. He was a machine gunner with the 1st Battalion, 26 Marines, Company B. Funeral services for Healy are pending at the Dobrats Funeral Home in Hutchinson. Funeral services for PFC Joseph Seller of Hutchinson, who was killed in Vietnam on June 2, are still pending. This is in one article. At the Zachow Funeral Home in Hutchinson, services for a 3rd area casualty, Gary Rathman of Corvuso, was held Monday, June 5. So imagine that. It really came home to Hutchinson. In the days that followed, Busky's sadness over the death of Healy and Seller turned to anger. Maybe he could go over there and get some revenge. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. For Busky, the war had become intensely personal.